Hello everyone. So I just quite recently had my first, I think it was about 20 milligrams trip, because this was a lot stronger than my 19 milligram trip. Unfortunately, my milligram scale, I think it's not super that accurate, so there's probably a plus minus up to 2 or 3 milligrams, which isn't ideal. But I'm guessing this is about 20 milligrams. And I want to preface this by saying that, well, first of all, sorry if it's a bit rambly, this is totally off script and sort of soon after the experience, so maybe all the energies are still fresh, which is why I want to make the video now, but also it's not like well constructed into a well-formed idea. And also I want to say that these experiences have been syncing extremely well with my 8 spiritual breaths practice, which I've been doing for a few years now, and just all the meditation I've been doing. And I don't think I would personally be having these wonderful experiences, if such deep healing experiences, if I wasn't doing all these sober practices. But yeah, with that, let me just start with what happened. Basically, I took the dose and I was expecting it to be a bit mellow because I've done a dose similar to this. And yeah, then at some point it got really strong. And what I had an intention, actually, what I wanted to focus on, and that's sort of, I was noticing a lot of area in my chin area here. I don't know if you can see, but I do have a bit of a chip on one of these teeth. And sometimes I just get some subtle pain from it. It's really not a big deal. We've all had tooth pain. And really, this tooth pain is really interesting because it's almost a jaw pain. It's like at the base of the tooth that the pain feels like. It's not an issue if I'm out and about and just living my life. But sometimes if I meditate and I focus on it, I really notice there's a lot of energy. And it can really vary because it's really sharp, tinging, zinging, white sort of energy. It can be quite pleasant if I go into a deep state of consciousness. But sometimes it gets like really overwhelming, the feeling. But anyway, that's sort of what I wanted to put my intention on, because I've felt that a lot when meditating sober. With very powerful energies, but it never really went anywhere. It never really healed. And yeah, so as this dose kicked in, at some point, yeah, it got really strong, and I was having a bit of a, well, this was a challenging moment, and I just had to, I went back, I was trying to sit up, but I was like, okay, no, wait, I need to lay down. And I just said, I'm just opening up to love, and I'm just opening up to God. And that was really challenging. And what I sort of realized was happening, this was the real insight of the trip. It was super interesting to me. I could see sort of where this tooth pain was. It was like this massive tangled web of like energy. You know, imagine the most knotted piece of string you've ever seen. That's like elastic and tightly bound, like all around this area of my, that tooth in particular, but the lower jaw here. And what that represented was all of, maybe not all, but at this time it felt like all of the negative things I've been carrying around. It felt extremely gross, all the grossness I've been projecting out onto the world, all the pain, the suffering, fears, disappointments, all these negative things were actually stored here in my body, and it felt like everywhere in my body was so free and fresh, but this energy was like still moving around and emanating out into my life. Super interesting, and I wonder how similar it is for other people. It really felt like this is the mechanism of how the human body works, and it's storing a lot of negative energy in the pain associated with a slightly painful tooth. Super interesting, and as this trip was happening, yeah, I just needed to open up to it, love it, accept it, which is the challenging part. And then at some point I did sort of break through. I did break through, and I just suddenly got this feeling of, oh, it's going to be okay. This is going to be absolutely fine and beautiful. And from then on, I just had all these beautiful insights. It's a bit interesting because it was like I was needing to face all this pain and suffering and disappointment, fear, doubt, whatever, all these negative feelings that was stored here. And I'm curious if through doing this, I'm going to heal this tooth pain completely, because right now I don't think I worked through all of the energy stored there. I can feel even right now there's a lot more to work through, but it's exciting because I have access to go back and heal it. And just by doing sober practice, you can just keep working at it, but it's very challenging, and it's hard to see if you're really going anywhere. So I think now to process this afterwards, to integrate this experience, I just need to feel, I can tell already every time I'm doing this, there's a huge ego backlash that comes up in the next day or so. So I just need to work through that. And I suspect there's going to be a lot of this negative energy backlashing. Just process that, notice the energy, try and not let it emanate through my whole body. Love it, accept it. And yeah, just see where it goes. I'm curious to see where that goes. But the main insight to me that was super interesting was how literally the energy is, if you think of a negative energy, let's just say, in this case, because grossness was actually one of the feelings stored here. Grossness, actually, there's no such thing as gross. Nothing is gross. It's a survival instinct that humans and maybe other animals have evolved. And that grossness is stored within us, and we project it out onto the world. But where is this grossness stored? It's usually, people would say, well, it's the brain and memories or whatever. But in this particular experience I had, it seemed that that feeling was actually stored in the pain of a tooth, and that there's all these swirling energies, maybe neurons firing, I don't know exactly. Maybe it's in a spiritual dimension, but all this energy swirling around, and that was stored in the tooth, in the jaw area in general. So yeah, I don't want to ramble too much. I think that's nearly it, but I want to say that again, the 8 spiritual breaths was hugely helpful, because again, I was sort of at the peak of the trip, and as I was coming down, I started to recite these, in this case, the negations of the 8 spiritual breaths, and that really did, again, you can tell it's making some huge energy shifts in the body. So I'm hugely thankful for that practice. And I also realized this was another beautiful thing, that I'm so grateful for the 8 spiritual breaths because of what they're doing in my life. But actually, and this was the insight at the moment, don't judge me too harshly if you're an atheist or a secularist or whatever, but I was seeing that every person's path is different, but God is there perfectly for everyone, giving them exactly what they need. So although I really benefit from the 8 spiritual breaths, God is active in all dimensions of life and helping people in the way that they need it right now. So I don't want to just recommend the 8 spiritual breaths to everyone. Check it out. If you're drawn to it, go ahead. I've got no financial affiliation with it, but I'm really benefiting from that. And yeah, I think that's about it. These videos are a bit rambly, sorry about that. But if you have any interesting comments or thoughts, I'd love to hear about it. I always enjoy talking about these things. And I'll see you in the next video.